Hello, you guys. Let's talk about Chapter 8, Lesson 3, using intercepts. So we're going to use the X and the Y-intercepts to graph the lines. Now you have to know what these are, okay? So the X-intercept is where the line crosses the X-axis, right here. So find the X-axis, and here's the line, and this is where it crosses the X-axis. The Y-intercept is where your line that you draw crosses the Y-axis. So you look at the Y-axis and see where the line crosses it, and that is what we call the Y-intercept. Now, the trick we're going to use, whenever we want to find the X-intercept, we're going to substitute 0 in for Y. But the way that we're going to do that is we're just going to use our finger. We're going to cover up the Y term, because 0 times anything is 0 and it would disappear. So we're going to use the cover it up method, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And when we want to find the Y-intercept, so we're looking for the Y, we're going to substitute 0 in for X. So we're going to cover up the X term with our finger and solve for Y. Okay, so what I would like you to do with example 1 is I want you to lightly cross it out and then go directly to example 2. That's where I will show all of this work. Okay, so let's take a look at example 2. They want us to graph the equation 2x minus 5y equals negative 10. And so what I would ask you to do, and I want you to notice something. See how the y is not by itself? That's always a good indication that we're going to use a different method to solve these. So when the y is not by itself, we usually use the intercepts. So I want you to write the equation 2x minus 5y equals negative 10. And then look what I did with my blue. I want you to draw a giant T underneath it. Now, you know that right here where it's minus 5y, that with your red you should add a line and change the sign. So this would read 2x plus negative 5y equals negative 10. Okay, let's look for the x-intercept. Now, if I want to find the x-intercept, that means I'm going to let y be 0. And let me grab a bigger pointer here. So when y is 0, I want you right here, look at what I'm doing. Cover it up with your finger, this negative 5y. Just cover it up, cover it up, cover it up so you can't see it. And do you notice how what you can see is 2x equals negative 10. Okay, now here's Kitty, and she's going to help me now. Okay, so notice how we can still see 2x equals negative 10. So that's what I wrote right here, 2x equals negative 10. And now circle the variable, bring down the wall, and get rid of the 2 by dividing both sides by 2. So we would get x equals negative 5, and that's our x-intercept. So our x-intercept is negative 5, 0. I wish you could see this, that Kitty is trying to step all over the iPad to help me. Okay. And you can probably hear her purring right now. All right, take a look at the y-intercept. So when I want to figure out what y is, I'm going to grab the bigger pointer and I'm going to cover up the 2x. Just put your finger on it, cover it up so you can't see it. And notice how you can still see the negative 5y equals negative 10. And so that's what I wrote right here. Negative 5y equals negative 10. And so just circle the y, bring down the wall, divide both sides by negative 5, so you get y equals 2. So your y-intercept is 2. Now, when you're writing the intercepts, I want you to write it like a point. Okay, so notice how the x-intercept is negative 5, but we write it as a point, negative 5, 0. Well, that makes sense because remember, the first number always goes in for the x. And when we find the y-intercept, y equals 2, we would write it as 0, 2. So the y always goes second. All right, and now I just have to graph those points. So look over at the graph. When I'm graphing the x-intercept, start at the origin. The negative 5 tells me to go to the left to negative 5, and the 0 says don't go up or down, so just put a dot here. When I'm trying to graph the y-intercept, I start at the origin. 0 tells me don't go right or left, but the 2 tells me to go up to positive 2, and I put the dot right here. And then use your straight edge to draw this line. Now I also want you to use your red and put the x-intercept is this point where it crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is this point where it crosses the y-axis. Alright, so take a look at the checkpoint. They want us to find the intercepts and then graph the equation. So on number 1, it's 2x plus 3y equals 6. So draw that big giant T underneath it. Put the x-intercept on the left and the y-intercept on the right. Now, when you're trying to find the x-intercept, you let y equal 0. So I want you to cover up with your finger the 3y so you can't see it. Notice how you can still see 2x equals 6. So write that equation, 2x equals 6. Circle the variable, bring down the wall. The only way to get rid of the 2 is to divide both sides by 2, so we get x equals 3. And you want to write that as a point, 3, comma 0. And so you could start at the origin. The 3 tells you to go to the right 3, and 0 says don't go up or down. So put that dot for the x-intercept. Now to get the y-intercept, we let x be 0. So put your finger on the x and cover it up so you can't see it, and you should still see 3y equals 6. Divide both sides by 3, so y equals 2. So the intercept would be 0, comma 2. So start at the origin. 0 says don't go right or left. The 2 tells you to go up 2 and draw your point. And now use your straight edge and draw a straight line through those 2 dots. Put arrows on both ends, and I want you to label the x-intercept and the y-intercept. All right, take a look at number 2. 3x minus 6y equals 12. So draw a big giant T underneath the equation. For the x-intercept, we let the y be 0, so cover up the negative 6y so you can't see it, and you should still see 3x equals 12. So divide both sides by 3, and you get x equals 4. So the intercept is 4, comma 0. So start at the origin. The 4 tells you to go to the right 4. The 0 tells you not to go up or down, and put that dot. Now if you hear that squeaky sound over here, this is my dog chewing on her chew toy while I'm trying to do this example with you. Sorry. Okay. And then for the y-intercept, we let x be 0. So put your finger on the 3x so you can't see it, and you should still see negative 6y equals 12. Divide both sides by negative 6 so you get y equals negative 2. So write that as a point, 0, comma, negative 2. So start at the origin. 0 says don't go right or left. The negative 2 tells you to go down to negative 2 and draw your dot. And then you use your straight edge and draw a line through those 2 points. Put arrows on both ends. And I want you to please label the x-intercept is right here, and the y-intercept is right here where it goes through the y-axis. Thank you. Okay, I want you to lightly cross out this page, and right here I want you to tell me exactly what my dog was doing during our last example, okay? Thank you.